Tista, thank you, Kavita, thank you, everybody here, all of you here. It is truly my honor and my privilege. I thank all those who are associated with the trust for asking me to come. And I will share a few anecdotes of my personal association with GAURI. But before I do so, I want to elaborate on a few points. And those who have been here for the last 2 days, listening to the deliberations of what we can do to change the working of the mass media in this country, will excuse me if some of the points I made, I'm repeating all over again, because this is a bigger and I guess more diverse audience. The first thing is the media and big business. Yes, this is a fact. This is not new. I mean, if you go back in time and look at the interests of the peddlers, indirectly the Tatas, they were all part of, they had interest in the media. The difference is that, they use the media to influence government policies. Many of them were supporters of right-wing political parties, including the Thakurta party. Then, from the 80s and the 90s, things started changing. The media itself became so profitable that those who started with the media, including, say, companies like GAURI, Bhaskar, two of the most widely circulated newspapers in the country and the world, that those profits were used to diversify into everything from coal mining to real estate. The fourth estate indeed was real estate. In certain respects, the wheel has turned again. And today, who are among the biggest owners of the media? Not just Mr. Ambani, not just Mr. Adani, the Jains who own, or now the two brothers are split. We don't know their wealth because their companies, they don't have shares that are listed in the stock exchange. But I dare say they would be among the richest persons in this country. So that, to some extent, explains why such a large section of the so-called mainstream media, Mukhya-dhara, Mooladhara, is so overtly, blatantly, brazenly in support not just of the status quo, but those who are in positions of power. Now, this has been going on for a long time. But what has really changed in the last few years? Yes, we have the emergency. Today we have an undeclared emergency. That emergency lasted from June 1975 to March 1977. This emergency is almost 10 years old. The undeclared. But there's something more than that. The difference is that whoever's in power, they're not just intolerant. Yeah, they are intolerant, of course. And this cuts across ideologies, political parties, those who are in power. The difference is the present regime has been vengeful, particularly vengeful. And due to a variety of circumstances, including the way the media has evolved across the world, you see the dependence on government, money, or media organizations has grown. And that explains why the government is exercising, and those who are in positions of power exercising such a huge influence in what you read and what you watch and what you hear. Let's move on a little bit. GAURI stood for a certain value. She could have worked in the so-called mainstream. Yes, her father, very eminent person, he took up this. But she chose to work in Kannada. And that is very important. She could have been very, very happy in the Times of India, in the Indian Express, and the Hindustan Times, or wherever. No. She wanted to reach out to larger numbers of people. And that is very, very important for us to know. The second point to note is that when GAURI passed away, we were seeing the beginning of the unprecedented growth of the so-called social media. Where more and more young people were being educated in WhatsApp University, to use Ravi Kumar's memorable phrase, and the other phrase he uses, the Now, what was interesting is, say take one particular example, and I give this as an example because it's very, very common. It's not today, but about 12 or 13 years ago, a young man, he's related to me, he came to me and he asked me, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim. I said, where did you get to know about this? And he said, WhatsApp. Yes, of course, WhatsApp is behind every single major mob lynching, communal conflagration in this country in the recent past. But I'm saying, when you try and explain to them, is terrorism the prerogative of a particular religion? The answer is clearly no. But as soon as you mention the word Hindu terrorism, and as soon as you mention the name of a member of parliament whose first name is Paranjoy, as soon as you mention the circumstances of which GAURI died, as before, Thakurta, you suddenly come across a kind of sense of that you don't want to believe this is possible. That there can be a quote-unquote Hindu terrorist. Let's move on a little bit. Because what happened to GAURI also epitomizes many things that have gone wrong today in this country. You're not a journalist, therefore you can't be an activist. You're a journalist, but you have to be quote-unquote objective, balanced, unbiased. These are loaded terms, which mean different things to different people. But there's just this entire sense of false equivalence which is today pervading the media. And I'm tempted to give you a very trivial example. Mr. A says it is raining, Mr. B says it's not raining. The journalist is too bloody lazy to go out and see whether it's raining or not. You know, that is unfortunately where the media has degenerated. You see, many of us wear multiple identities and more than one person is talked about, as did GAURI. Okay, I'm a man, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a journalist, I'm a citizen of this country, I'm a citizen of this world. So which identity matters more? Or do all my identities matter equally? You know, when I heard about what happened to GAURI, September 2017, I was reminded of something I was told when I began journalism, and he started died. I was 46 years old. I'm 68 years old. And that was like, are you biased? My editor said, Mr. Thakurta, why are you ashamed of your bias? Are you biased against the corrupt? Are you biased against those who exploit the poor and the underprivileged? Then you should be proud of your bias. I mean, that is where I think GAURI showed an entire generation the way. Let me just argue a few points. In a sense, today, GAURI epitomizes all these things. The media is today where it is because it is failing to play the duty that it is supposed to play in a quote-unquote democracy. What is that? Ask questions, hold truth to power, hold accountable those who are in positions of power and authority. Far from being a watchdog, you become a lapdog, especially if the lab belongs to a powerful politician or a businessman or a military officer or a mafia lord. Yeah. So what happens is that when you are not able to hold truth to power, when you are not asking questions, then you are what you are today. This is the state of India. The fourth estate. It's not just real estate. It is a travesty of what journalism should be in a democracy. How does this happen? Why does this happen? It starts from the top. And let me just quickly tell you that Shri Narendra Modi happens to be the one and only Prime Minister of India who's never, underline never, held an unscripted press conference where any journalist would ask him any question. He picks and chooses the journalists who question him, and they ask him questions he wants to be asked. They ask him, they don't follow up with those questions. You want those things, I can tell you those things. I have no hesitation. Some of them may be ideologically committed towards him, like Paranjoy. Some of them may have been privileged to spend a few weeks behind bars, like Supreme George. There's Anjanam Kashyap. There's the one and only Arnab Goswami. Very sure so the Arnabization of the media happened. Yeah, sure. I mean, there are many more names. My friend RSS, he told me his name is not RSS, Babu Shri. So it's right. There are journalists. Mr. Modi gives interviews to non-journalists as well. Please go ahead and see his great interview with Masud Joshi. And the famous interview he gave with that well-known actor. You know, he used to be a citizen of Canada, he pays a lot of money as income tax. His driver asked him to ask the Prime Minister of the world's largest democracy a very important question. Modi ji, आप आम कैसे खाते हैं? आप काट के खाते हैं, जूस के खाते हैं? If this is something that is from the top, those are the bottom. We are being pushed. And what my speakers before me told, and what GAURI stood for. The journalists were vulnerable because they're not in Bangalore. They're not like me or GAURI who can speak in English. No. They are paying the price because they don't have the protection of the English language or having to live in the city. They are vulnerable. Geeta just talked about the journalists who have been arrested under the UAPA, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which is arguably the most draconian law of the statute books of this country. So, GAURI epitomized values in journalism as a human being, which we have to strive for, which we must struggle for, irrespective of who's in power, which politician is in power, because that is going to be the soul of us, our society, the most heterogeneous and diverse society on planet Earth. 13 years ago, I would come to the city of Pain. I was making a film on the Bellari brothers, Gari Janardhan Reddy and his brothers. Helped me extensively. She did everything she could do to help me. Was GAURI. Please see, she reaches me. She comes to life. And I feel so strange coming back here, knowing that 4 individuals who featured prominently in that documentary film that I worked on, it's a 1.5 hour long documentary, are not here, including GAURI, including the human rights lawyer K.G. Kanamila, including the great writer, scholar, literature, Dr. Guha, including the brilliant singer, the Telugu singer Gadar. There are no more. All I can say is that each and every one of us have to embody and imbibe the values that GAURI stood for. As an independent woman, as an independent journalist, as an independent activist, as an independent thinker. Even after she passed away, I've heard terrible things being said about her that people I consider liberal. I'm not even going to tell you about them because they themselves reveal their own insecurity. And one thing that GAURI never was, but she was never insecure about her convictions. She was never ashamed, never reticent to talk about them. So, I wish all of you here, and every single person here, I wish all of us can strive to live by the values that GAURI Lakshmi stood for. Born on the 29th of January 1962, brutally killed in front of her home on the 5th of September 55 is no age to go.